You did everything right today. Answered every email. Hit every deadline. Skipped lunch to stay productive. Tonight, you're lying on your bed, doing math you already know the answer to. Here's what nobody says out loud. You are not behind because you made bad choices. You are behind because you were handed a map to a destination that quietly stopped existing. In 1985, a median worker could buy a median home in 4 years of full income. Today, 11 years. Real wages up 17% since the 70s. Asset prices up over 400%. That's not inflation. That's a gap, a structural gap. And it was not an accident. Because here's the thing nobody talks about. The system didn't just price you out. It built you something to replace what you lost. And you've been buying it every single day. Before we go further, I need to say something directly. If your savings aren't growing the way you planned, if your salary disappears the second it arrives, if you feel behind no matter how hard you work, that is not a discipline problem. That is not a mindset problem. That is not a you problem. The average 28-year-old today is working harder than their parents did at 28, more educated, more optimized, more credentialed, and statistically, poorer. In every way that actually matters. Your financial anxiety doesn't go away because it's not anxiety. It's accuracy. Your nervous system is correctly reading a system that is structurally tilted against you. And somewhere deep down, you already knew that. To understand the machine, you need to go back to 1971. Not because history is interesting, because that's the year the trap was built. Before 1971, the US dollar was backed by gold, which meant governments couldn't print money they didn't have. Money had a ceiling. Then they removed the ceiling. When unlimited money can be printed, two things happen simultaneously. First, the cash in your pocket becomes worth less every year. Quietly, slowly. Not overnight, just less. Second, and this is the part they don't teach, everyone who already owns hard assets gets richer automatically. Property, land, equity, they inflate with the money supply. Your salary? Your salary needs a performance review and a budget approval meeting. Your parents bought their house on one income, not because they were smarter, not because they were more disciplined, because in 1983, a median house cost roughly 3 times the median annual salary. Today, that ratio is closer to 9. In London, Sydney, Vancouver, it's 15. You're not failing to climb the ladder. The ladder is moving away from you. And it is moving by design. But here's where it gets interesting. Because a machine that extracts wealth needs one thing above everything else. It needs you to stay calm. A workforce that genuinely understands they will never own anything real is a workforce that eventually revolts. So the machine needed a solution.
They invented the anesthetic. Think about what surgeons do before they cut you open. They don't debate whether the surgery is necessary. They don't walk you through every detail of the procedure. They just put you to sleep. What you've been sold as your lifestyle is the needle going in. The artisan coffee isn't expensive because the coffee is better. It's expensive because it gives you 30 seconds of feeling like you've made it. The apartment in the trendy neighborhood isn't your life, it's a set. And you are performing a version of wealth you haven't built. There's a concept called the lipstick effect. During recessions, small luxury goods sales don't collapse, they go up. When people lose hope in their financial future, they don't stop spending. They compress their ambitions into something they can still afford. A new lip color, a nicer gym membership, a phone upgrade on a payment plan. This isn't stupidity. This is what psychological surrender looks like when it's been made beautiful. The system didn't just price you out of real assets. It monetized the grief of being priced out. It turned your quiet despair into a revenue stream, and wrapped that revenue stream in reclaimed wood and ambient playlists. You didn't fail the system. The system succeeded at you.
Every system built on manufactured consent has a breaking point, and this one is starting to crack. Gen Z, the most educated generation in modern history, is the first generation statistically certain to be poorer than their parents. Not in some countries, in most of them, and they know it. The naive optimism is gone. They just don't have the language yet to describe what's happening. There's a phrase circulating in economic research right now, Vibecession. It describes the gap between what official data says about the economy and how people actually feel about their financial lives. The numbers say the economy is fine. The grocery bill says otherwise. The rent says otherwise. The ceiling math at 11 p.m. says otherwise. Here's what the machine forgot to account for. Anesthetics wear off. When the generation raised on Instagram realizes the aesthetic isn't an arrival point, it's a waiting room, the spending stops working as medication. You start to see the BNPL debt not as flexibility, but as proof your salary was never designed to be enough. You start to see the subscription economy not as convenience, but as the permanent elimination of ownership from your financial life. You start to see the micro-luxury not as a treat, but as a controlled release valve. Pressure out, compliance in. The machine will keep running. The coffee shops will stay beautiful. The unboxing videos will keep getting more cinematic. The BNPL checkout will keep feeling like a solution. And most people will keep their heads down and keep swiping. Not because they are foolish, because the sedated are predictable. And a predictable consumer is the most valuable asset the machine owns. But here's the thing about a sedated crowd. They all move in the same direction. They all buy the same aesthetic. They all finance the same illusions. They are, by definition, the most predictable market on Earth. And predictable markets have exploitable gaps. The people who actually escape this machine are not the ones who earn more.
They are the ones who stopped playing the income game and started playing the asset game. They let the sedated majority keep inflating the price of aesthetics, and they quietly positioned themselves on the other side of that transaction. They stopped asking, how do I earn enough to afford the lifestyle? And started asking, how do I own the thing that the lifestyle is built on? This is not about being rich enough to invest. This is about understanding which game you are actually in. The machine runs on the assumption that you will always be a consumer, that the anesthetic works, that you stay in your lane, that you keep financing the illusion instead of owning any piece of the infrastructure. The gap between the people who escape and the people who do not is almost never income. It is almost always awareness. You now know something that is not taught in schools, is not in most financial media, and quietly disappears every time it gets too close to the people who benefit from your not knowing it. You know the lifestyle is a management strategy. You know the micro-luxury is a release valve. You know the anesthetic has a manufacturer, and that manufacturer has shareholders. And here is the cheat code nobody puts in the headline. The machine cannot sedate someone who has already read the label. Most people will keep playing the game, buying the aesthetic, financing the illusion, being the most predictable, most profitable consumer the machine has ever produced. But you just read the label. The next archive goes deeper.